What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. Obviously starting off with that long managerial search, and you know what, we're getting into that territory of nearing 70 days. I think it's been over 50 days now since we sacked Antonio Conte, so we really are getting into that territory where we didn't want to be. But let's start off talking about Simeone Inzaghi. FC Inter News, which is an Inter Milan publication, say that Tottenham Hotspur are interested in appointing Milan head coach Simeone Inzaghi as their new manager at the end of the season. What would you think about him?
I actually don't think he's a bad manager. I think he's actually done quite well at Inter Milan. Before that, he got the job after being at Lazio for a few years, and he obviously got the Inter job off the back of that. He was pretty highly thought of as Lazio manager. I remember when Conte left, there wasn't much talk of Inzaghi leaving Lazio because he was doing a good job, and then obviously once he became a front runner, he immediately took the job at the time, and he obviously finished second last season. This season hasn't gone as well, but they're on the brink of a Champions League final. So
what a stunning performance that was in the first leg as well.
Yeah, they completely battered AC Milan really in that first leg. So I mean, look, it's all up in the air at the moment, but definitely a good chance of getting to a Champions League final. So he's done really well. He is a bit more offensive than someone like Antonio Conte. He does seem to play a very similar formation, or he did at Inter Milan anyway. But when it comes to, like, Conte got the best out of like people like Lukaku when he was there. Simeone Inzaghi hasn't really done that. So maybe you can argue maybe his man management is it at the same level. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if he's the right fit for what we need right now, albeit he is a good manager. I just feel like he's doing a good job at Inter Milan. I don't know about getting him at Tottenham though. I'm not sure if he's the guy to get a rebuild around and if he's going to play the football that we want.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I probably have to do a bit more research into him, but on the face of things, he has done fairly good jobs at Inter and Lazio, but it's not like a job where you think about, oh, this is the manager that we desperately need. It's not like that good of a job. He's just doing like a good job. You know what I mean? It's not like an astounding job.
Yeah, to be fair, someone like with their squad in Serie A, they should be competing for the title. They shouldn't be. The title shouldn't be over by this stage of the season, especially with teams like competing with Napoli. But you can argue he's could be in a Champions League final. What an achievement that is! So that you can't take that away from him. To be fair, if they get there.
Yeah, and you compare that to Antonio Conte's European record. I mean, that smashes it, doesn't it? Because what's the record? Like, he's won like one Champions League knockout round in his career or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, it's not great, to be honest, when you're thinking about Antonio Conte and the aura around him. And then Simeone has come in and straight away got them pretty much to a final.
But Conte did win the league.
Yeah, he did win the league.
And Simeone hasn't managed that in 2 seasons.
That's true. Yeah, that's also true. But look, those are the rumours at the moment. It's not from a very reliable source. It's FC Inter News, like I said, an Inter publication. But let's talk about the next manager, which has been linked with us. Again, not the most reliable source. This one coming from Talk Sport. And this is regarding Thomas Frank. And they say Brentford are bracing themselves from interest from Tottenham for Thomas Frank. Daniel Levy is believed to be a massive admirer of the Danish manager.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there is interest from his side to come to Tottenham, because he's got a very well-settled team at Brentford. He's been there for quite a few years now. Everyone loves him there. And it's like, it depends on him. If he feels like maybe is it time now? Has he kind of taken Brentford as far as he can? Probably. In a way? Probably. But Tottenham is a completely new, different thing. Does he feel like he can build what he built at Brentford at Tottenham? Because it's very different. You've seen managers have a really good thing going, and then they feel like they need to make that next step, and it doesn't quite work out for them in their next job because they can't build that same feeling. Sometimes a manager just fits a club, and is Frank one of those, or could he come to Tottenham and do what he's doing there?
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling it is what you're saying, like a manager fits a certain club, and I think Thomas Frank just fits that club like an absolute glove. And also on the Thomas Frank thing, it's like he's gone in there, he's brought them up from such a crazy place to where they are right now, and everyone in that club is all singing off the same hymn sheet. They all are pushing in the same direction. It's just not the case at Spurs. Like you saw with the whole Nagelsmann news, it's like he ain't putting himself in that position where everyone ain't all singing from the same hymn sheet. If they don't have the same ideas as the manager, like he ain't going to put himself in that position and take that job. Where Thomas Frank, I think like the shining lights at Tottenham might just sway him away from that a little bit, maybe potentially.
Also, I think another thing to know is Brentford are obviously they're a good team and they play decent football. But if Tottenham played the football Brentford played, I don't know if like fans would be happy with that. I think they expect it even more because I know it's good for Brentford how they play, but they do still play fairly on the counter attack. They rely very heavily on getting Ivan Toney and Mbeumo, two strikers up front. They don't really try and dominate possession. They rely a lot on set pieces as well. So as much as maybe he would adapt his philosophy to cater to maybe a better quality of player he would have at Tottenham, but would he be able to be getting Tottenham to be playing the football that we want to be playing? Or is it based on the evidence that we're seeing? Is he going to be trying to get Tottenham to play like Brentford? And if he does, I don't know if the Spurs fans would take to that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But it's hard to go on that evidence as well because, like, I feel like he plays that football because it's the best way to get results for a Brentford side. But you never know what managers like that will be when going into a better job with better players. So it's a hard one to judge, isn't it? But let's move on. Let's talk about Hugo Lloris now. As L'Equipe are reporting that Hugo Lloris is now expected to leave Tottenham Hotspur this summer. I read a report as well a few days ago that Daniel Levy, because of his service because of Lloris's service to Tottenham, might just let him go for free and not command a fee, so it'll make him easier to find a new club.
Yeah, that makes sense. We shouldn't expect a fee for Lloris with his form this season. You're not going to have a bunch of clubs queuing up to pay much money anyway. What's the top you're going to get? Like a couple of million, like probably at most. So it makes sense. He's got big wages off the wage bill as well. Makes it easier to find a new goalkeeper. And look, if he does leave this summer, I don't like how I know he probably needs to leave, and I know he's had a bad season, but I don't like how a lot of the fans treat him as if he's always been a terrible keeper and good riddance kind of thing, just because he's had a few mistakes and some bad form. For me, he's been our best keeper in the Premier League era. I think he's been a loyal servant to Spurs. He's been a top goalkeeper as well. So if he goes, it'll be sad, but I think it's the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it when it gets nasty, especially to players that have given good service to Tottenham Hotspur. And Hugo Lloris has definitely done that, albeit he has been nothing short of shocking this season, to be honest, with a catalogue of errors that have really hurt us in games. But I think it's just time for Lloris. It's time to say goodbye. And but look, we got to thank him for the service, and hopefully we can give him a good send off, and maybe even do a little testimonial or something to honour him at the end of the season. Because I think it's only fitting for someone that's been here for so long, been captain for so long, and given such good service to the club. I think it's only fitting that we should do that. But it seems to have gone that kind of stuff in the game, though.
Yeah, but there seems to be at Tottenham as well. Like, we don't seem to give players who have been here a long time like really good send-offs. Like Danny Rose was pretty much shipped out the back door when he'd been here over 10 years. Aaron Lennon, he didn't get much of a send-off. He'd been here a very, very long time. It's happened to a few players where they've given a good service, but just because it went maybe badly in their last year or two, that all of a sudden a lot of people forget that and just kind of ruthless. And maybe we need to be showing more love to these players.
I completely agree with that. But that on the Danny Rose situation, after that interview with The Sun, I mean, his relationship with Daniel Levy after that probably just died a sad death.
Yeah, probably. There's definitely something to it.
But look, I completely agree. Like, we need to be doing more as a club to show our appreciation to players that give long service to Tottenham. I mean, the only one I can remember is Ledley King. I mean, he's the only one that's ever got a testimonial, right, in our lifetime.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's mad to think about. I mean, I know when I was pretty young, we had a Bill Nicholson testimonial, but that was like years and years after it should have been. But I don't get why we don't honour them more than we do.
I agree. It's weird. Vertonghen as well. He left, but I mean, he got a watch from Levy. I remember showing him in the documentary, but didn't get a goodbye to the fans or anything like that.
They do these things within the training ground and give them awards and let their colleagues clap them and stuff. But where's the interaction with the fans? That's what's lost at this football club.
100%.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Dejan Kulusevski. You're going to love this one, Sim. Gazzetta Italia saying that Spurs are set for talks with Juventus as they seek to get a discount on the €35 million fee for Dejan Kulusevski.
It's like getting last year's kit from the club shop, 50% off. Come on, he only got 2 goals. Can we get a discount, please? Come on, guys. Let's get some money off.
No shame this club have. 35 million for Dejan Kulusevski is such a great price.
35 million
euros
as well.
Pay Take the money and run.
Looking for discount, honestly, Tottenham. Just get the deal done, guys. I know some fans are saying, like, oh, he's been on bad form and do we need to spend the money? But look, let's be honest. But here's the facts of the matter. If Spurs drop 30 million tomorrow on Kulusevski, how much is he immediately worth? 50 million? 60 million?
Yeah.
So, like, even if you want to say, let's sell him straight away, which I wouldn't agree with anyway, but let's say you want to just sign him and sell him, you could do that. So it makes absolutely no sense to not buy him for £30 million or 35 million euros, whatever you want to look at it. The guy's full of quality. He's still at a really good age, still 22 years of age. We've seen what he's capable of. I think it's a no-brainer. And if you want to buy someone of similar quality, you're spending a lot more than 35 million euros. So for me, you've got to sign him.
And get it right. If you want a discount on that 35 million euros, what are you asking for? 30 million euros, 25 million euros, something along that ballpark figure. If you're spending that money, you're getting another Steven Bergwijn, you're getting another Danjuma, you're getting another one of that kind of quality. Dejan Kulusevski is miles better than any of those players. I mean, he showed it last season what he can do. Yes, he hasn't had a great season this year. Only 2 goals, I think what you said before, 7 assists this season. And look, there is a conversation to be had because everyone's berating Richarlison for what he's done this season with only getting 1 Premier League goal all season. But Kulusevski has had his problems this season with injuries and everything like that. So I think that it's an absolute no-brainer to sign Dejan Kulusevski. And when you're looking at the future of that right wing spot, I mean, he is it. He's got his age on his side, he's got quality, and he's got so much room to grow as well.
And he's such a unique kind of player as well. There aren't many players in the Premier League who are like him, who play on the wing. So he gives you something different to what maybe other players can offer. So I just think, I mean, Ali Gold, I was reading today, I was watching his video, he said that he's hearing from the Tottenham side, they see him as a Tottenham player now. There's no talk about him not being here next season. So I do expect him to be here. I mean, how much of a discount they're going to allow us, offer a deal for 35 million euros for him. So I really expect we're going to have to pay the full price.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last story of the update regarding Giovanni Lo Celso. Fabrizio Romano saying that Aston Villa have concrete interest in Gio Lo Celso and the player would be keen on the move, but he is still waiting to understand who the new Tottenham head coach is going to be.
Makes sense. Obviously, the new Tottenham head coach might like the look of Lo Celso, might want to keep him around. So again, we're gonna have to wait to see what's gonna happen with the new manager. He's gonna have to take a stock of who his available players are and who he wants to keep, who he doesn't want to keep, who he sees fitting into his system. So I don't expect any of these conversations to have any real resolutions until we've sorted our house, basically.
Do you think now, with the situation Spurs are in, with the manager, with the director of football, with everything, just everything completely up in the air, do you think that we're going to go through another season next year of deciding about these loan players and deciding about these fringe players and giving the likes of the Eric Dyers, the Lo Celsos, the Ndombele's, even the Winkses another chance?
I mean, if we don't get our manager and sporting director in very soon, then I think there's a good chance of that happening, just because they won't simply have the time to spend with the players to assess who we want. If we don't get these guys in before the beginning of pre-season, then there's a good chance that he will want to maybe use a season to assess them. But if he can get a few weeks and some pre-season in, there should be enough time to assess his squad, I think, there, and just make a judgment on who he wants to keep and who he doesn't. I think he's also got to talk to the players himself, see who really wants to stay here, who wants to fight for his place, or who would rather move on. I think those conversations have to have, but I really hope we're not in for another. I mean, it's a good chance we're in for another season of transition because the manager's going to have a new start. But I guess if it depends how early we get the new manager in.
Yeah. And that's why I thought it was, like, on top of my personal opinions for Pochettino, that's why, like, I thought it was so important to get someone like that in, especially him in, because he knows all those players that are on the fringes, on the cusp of things now. And he'll know exactly who he wants, who he doesn't want, who's going to fit his philosophy, who's going to work for him. And we've just missed another trick there, haven't we?
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. And now he's going to be managing our rivals is going to hurt so much. And the fact we pulled out Nagelsmann as well, and now we're in a situation where we didn't even approach Pochettino, it's absolute madness.
Yeah. But that is the state of Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.